shall we talk about the form first, or should we just start presenting?
It's up to you guys. You guys are managing the human capital yourselves, but it is an important part of your grade.
All right, then maybe we can just have a look at the form first. The form is also linked on the Facebook group that we have. It's this one, and that's in our Google Drive folder. And you can download this here. And when you download the file like this, and then you can fill out the grades for every group that is presenting. So yeah, and that's going to be something about our final mark. And those categories. So I guess pretty much self-explaining. And I hope everyone has it now or downloads it now. And then we can start. All right. So today, me and Ozalbek, we are going to talk about, is green HRM important to young employees? And we want to catch you with this topic because we think that there is quite a coherence to Squid Game. So if you're interested in that show and if you're interested in what that has to do with green human resource management, then stay tuned because you're going to hear about that for the next minutes. And first of all, this is our contact information. Our LinkedIn profiles are linked on the button on the top, and there's also our email address, or my email address at least, and you can contact us whenever you want. Don't hesitate if you have any questions. And yeah, that's pretty much enough about us. Now for our research project, we have an abstract, and our message that we want to teach to everyone is that green human resource management might be the easiest and cheapest way to raise your profits as a company. So this should be very important to everyone who owns a company, who wants to raise its profits. So pretty much, I hope every company out there. So this might catch your interest in, because that's a very easy way. Because green human resource management practices can help to motivate employees, and the motivation can be used to work more efficiently and to make more sustainability-based decisions, which is becoming more and more important in the daily world. And yeah, green human resource management can also help to attain a better image as a company. And this is becoming increasingly important for especially young buyers, for millennials like our generation, and also like the younger generation after us, but also one generation before us. This is an increasingly important criterion to buy things. So that's also why this is important. And the most effective measures of green human resource management are not very cost intensive, because the most effective measures are training, value definition of your company, and non-monetary bonuses. So you have lots of benefits and really not very much of costs coming to you. And we are going to go into more detail now. First, we're going to introduce you to the topic so that you know what we are talking about in detail. Green human resource management, that means the integration of environmental management into human resource management guidelines. And that means that you should integrate policies into your human resource management that contribute to a more sustainability-oriented company. And the motivation behind this is that we are in a global climate crisis. That's not me that says that, that's the IPCC. And the IPCC, that's an organization by the UN that's assessing like the most recent papers every year that are about the topic of climate change. And there are more than 1,000 of researchers that contribute and that review important papers on the topic of climate crisis. And they are kind of like the same as Scopus, which we talked about before in this course, and we're going to talk about Scopus later again, but it's kind of the same. They review the papers and show them to the governments, and they say that we are in a global climate crisis. And one other point that's important is that 71% of greenhouse gas emissions are caused by only 100 companies. So big companies are really a big lever to do something against climate change. And that's why human resource management is very important, because decisions in companies are made by employees, and employees are chosen and trained by human resource management. So yeah, this is really making a huge impact. And yeah, sustainable image is, as said before, a big factor in purchase intentions today. Some terms that should be explained before we start going into more detail is one of them is green hiring, which is about checking the mindset of employees and the awareness before you hire them. So you make the mindset about sustainability a part of the hiring process and the criterion. Another point is green training, which means that you give access to information about climate change and to sustainable decision making, and that you also have workshops and discussions for your employees and have them develop their own strategies. Then there's non-monetary awards and monetary awards. That's something that we talked before in this course. That's about giving incentives to the employees to make more sustainable decisions, and non-monetary means like access to conferences and trainings, and or reduction of work time, for example, or maybe prestigious awards or anything. And monetary awards means that you give financial bonuses. And then there's also the opportunity of a penalty system, so that you give financial penalties when someone is performing badly in terms of sustainability. And all of that requires that you track the performance of employees in terms of sustainability. So maybe let's have a first break for questions or any discussions before we start diving into our literature. Does anyone have any remarks or anything?
Very good that you're checking that. You have several people online, by the way.
Sure. So everyone online or here?
Yes, it's clear.
Somebody was saying something online. Could you repeat that?
I say that was clear.
All right.
Okay.
Yes, sure.
It's not so easy for me. You had said several things. For example, green training is giving training, and you went on, you used several words, but I didn't hear how green training is different than just regular training.
Green training means that the workshops and the information you give are like really focused on sustainable decision making and sustainability in company context.
Okay.
So yeah, green training means training with a focus on sustainability.
Is there a benchmark example that many green employees should watch this TED Talk video, how to be green, or Coursera course or something?
That's a good question. I think I don't know yet, but we might check that.
So you haven't actually seen green training details yet. You just heard people talking about it.
Certainly no.
Okay. Another one, the green hiring, that was clear. Just checking that they are not throwing things down, or maybe they're driving and being an electric Prius. I guess they get bonus points for the hiring. A big question. In your presentation, it says that you have 3 people part of your group, but I only see 2.
Yeah.
Is Bastian also supposed to be part of the group, or has he left the class?
Bastian sadly had to leave the class because he had health problems. And
Okay.
He left the country.
Okay. Thanks. Please continue.
Maybe a short question, so that we see that you like heard, or that you understand what we want from you, or that you can give input. And the question would be, do you think that green human resource management can actually have an impact on climate change or on combating climate change? Maybe someone has an opinion on that.
I think so. If we require all workers to be aware of the environment, then yes, everybody's aware. Everybody needs to work to survive, usually. then it will have an impact, yes.
Yeah.
Is there any research or arguments not worth the time?
Not in our opinion, but maybe Ampia, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, because you said that the 10 or more firms are like huge firms are responsible, so does it make sense that small firms go to this round, or should we focus on getting these big firms?
That's actually a very good point. Like the point was that the 100 biggest companies are making the most impact of 70% of greenhouse gas emissions, but 70%, that's still not everything. Like there's still 30% left. And for example, in Germany, construction is still making like the most, or it's having the most damage on the environment. And that's still a huge percentage if you see that per person. Like you have to, like you can't always say the biggest players have to start and then everyone else has a smaller impact, because everyone has to work together. Because if only the biggest ones start, they could tell that, well, that's unfair, we have to do it and the other ones don't, and everything. And still small things have an impact. And when you cut it down to the number of employees, then that seems like a different thing. Like when you see the top 100 biggest companies have also the most or the highest number of employees. So basically they should do the most, or they have to act like that. But still smaller companies, when you compare the CO2 emissions per employee, then they also have responsibilities, and then the difference is not that big. So yeah, smaller companies still have to do their part.
Okay. Osbeck, to give you a challenging question, since you are the researcher, one of the most challenging questions I have for you is, prove it. Hot air. In hot air, in Canada, if we say hot air, that basically means BS. It means it's not true. It means it's just you are exaggerating or lying. Can you prove it? Usually a research report, you show your methodology, and in the introduction, you show the importance of it with some facts. You have shown an abstract, you have shown an introduction, but I haven't seen your methodology, which means I can't see you're reliable compared to somebody else. So what would you say is your biggest challenge to green HR management?
Well, I'm really sorry for the interruption, but can you please increase the volume of the microphone so we can hear?
Okay, the question was just related to being a devil's advocate, just being a troublemaker. Even the best researchers in the world with the best methodology still have people trying to repeat their exact methodology, which should be said in your research, and findings are almost never the same. So people argue with them. And since you guys are new researchers, I'm identifying that you are still developing your methodology. It hasn't been mentioned in your abstract. You can develop that later. So my question is, what do you as researchers find is your biggest problem in this research? Number one, overall, good or bad, what is the biggest problem? And number two, what is the biggest challenge stopping green HRM if it is more profitable, as you say? Sorry, that's a huge question. Maybe it should be saved for the end of your presentation, since you haven't really started yet. Did you want to save that to the end, or you want to try to tackle? It's up to you. Okay.
So from now on, we choose this topic because most of the world companies and firms using sustainable strategies to build strong relationships with customers of the trust, high-skilled workers which prefer to work in eco-friendly companies or job positions. Then it's our focus methodology, and further identify important topics, and we identify keywords to search information. We use keywords like green we focus the database to search most reliable data related to our topic, as it is considered most reputable abstract and citation database. We analyze more than 10 academic papers and other information from the references at online and at online questionnaire is most appropriate way to our research. We choose this method because it's low cost and we can survey different people all around the world. There is a list of our resources which we use. I hope you remember that that we could students get expected results to change our books, and as you can see, we didn't replace most of the papers but focused on appropriate information to our current topic. Because our first title and current one quite similar papers which we analyze contain valuable information for both topics, and they have almost same keywords and same this because at that point you may ask questions. Does anyone have questions?
Can you please use the microphone?
I'm asking, do you have any questions? Hello.
I actually can't see too clearly what is the main point of what you're showing here. Other than there's many articles. Can you, sorry, for the microphone, forgive me for yelling, but you have obviously done a lot of research. What is the main finding that you found in this research? What is it that you're showing on the screen?
Okay.
Right, okay, that's
Our literature findings was that sorry, I lost. Our literature review shows that companies can't go green without green HRM. It's not our words, it's Jerome 2020, and green training seems especially important for young employees' perception of the company. It's also not our words. Green HRM can easily promote employees' motivation by giving a feeling of empowerment. This improves performance, environmental impact, and the outside image of the company while attracting better employees. Green corporate image, environmental concern have a significant impact on millennials' buyer decisions, and findings indicate that there was a positive relationship between an environmental friendly attitude and the perceived attractiveness of the firm, job search specifically in that firm, and acceptance of a job offer. Do you have still question, or I answered your question?
good enough for now. Thank you very much. I will always have lots of questions, but I don't want to be too crazy.
Okay, method of our survey was online survey, and we asked from our participants open-ended, closed-ended, rating scale, and yes or no style questions. And we only focused only employees. There is some examples of our questions. When it comes to the results of our survey, it's clearly shown that green training and using sustainability as a core value of the company is considered as an effective measure by participants. But some of the participants even think that penalty systems for worker with least eco-friendly attitude can be counterproductive. But next pie chart shows that although considerable amount of participants voted green hiring also can be effective, there is not any vote for its attractiveness. So it means that participants think that green hiring effective measure, but it's not attractive to them as an employee. Maybe further research useful to identify its reasons. More than 90 of participants voted that their company don't have guidelines for green HRM, or even if they have it, the guidelines don't affect their daily work life. We can conclude that not many companies implementing effective green HRM measures, or companies don't know which measures considered as effective by their employees. There's some suggestions from our participants. What do you see are important next steps for developing green HRM practices, especially in your company, was a question, and they answered implementing actual measures instead of defining the to-be workshops and general enlightenment about green HRM, shift towards a more sustainability-oriented mindset, reduce waste, no plastic boxes and packaging. I think it's necessary to figure out how every employee can act sustainable and motivate other employees to do the same. This could be a huge impact that would grow exponentially. Again, do anyone have any questions?
Did I just hear you say your green HR practices is no plastic recycling, but also no paper boxes? Is that what you were saying?
Not plastic boxes.
No, not plastic boxes. That
Yes.
makes sense. Okay.
No plastic boxes.
Are there reasons for serving only to the employee?
I couldn't catch your words.
In these companies that are training their staff to be green, do some companies show that they have quizzes for staff? I think somebody's actually asking me to give the class quizzes on how to be green.
No, I just asked him, are there any reasons doing a survey only to the employee?
Okay, is there any reason for the staff in companies to pay attention?
Mm,
The company has green training, but of course you guys wouldn't know. Sometimes there's classes where the teacher says something and nobody's paying attention. And so the question here is the same thing. Is there any benefit for the employees to pay attention to this green training?
I think there is a lot of benefits, because most of the people around the world want to make contribution to make world, how to say, healthier, or reduce waste or pollution, because it's clear from news or anything. Most of the population wants to change and to make contribution.
Okay.
I think it's a huge motivation, because the reason not money, only not money, because they want it, and I think it's enough.
Okay, good. What you're doing right now, you just opened yourself up to attack. You said, I think. If you said anybody, Daniel Jones, 2020 or 2021, somebody else said this is the best because of, that makes you look a lot better. If you just said, I think, anybody can attack you. Somebody else thinks something different. You don't have proof yet. But okay, good. Thanks.
All right. So to get to the conclusion of our research, as Ozilbeck just displayed, the literature said that it would be essential for companies to implement green HRM to be sustainable. That was one part of the literature. That was Geronimo. And then there's also the thing that, as said in the beginning, the motivation and the performance and also the company image can be improved by green human resource management. And this also attracts new, better employees and young customers. So that's what we found out from our literature presented before. And then what we conclude from our survey was that our research supports lots of research, or our survey supports lots of our research findings before, and gave insights into the best approaches for green HRM practices. So from our surveys that green training and sustainability as a core value was ranked as very effective in their opinion, and non-monetary awards and green hiring were shortly behind. So those are the measures that also don't cost money and that are ranked quite high in efficiency or in effectiveness from our survey participants. And green trainings seem to be the most appealing thing for the young people. So the survey participants, they were all from the millennial generation, and they thought in a majority of participants that green trainings would be the most appealing way to implement green human resource management. And a big majority sees that green human resource management is an important or very important topic. So that was over 75% who said that. And by this, we can see that green human resource management should be focused by every company that tries to attract young employees, because it's a very important topic for them. And that green human resource management can increase public corporate image and profits with simple and non-expensive measures. And that's what we said in the beginning. The problems with that, to get back to that, is that for one point, many companies are concentrating on something else, because the field of green human resource management is not very advanced yet. So when we go back to the research, you can see that most of the papers are from 2020, 2019, 2021. So only one that's older than 3 years. And that means that like the research is very new to this topic. That's why we also didn't find that much things about the actual benchmark at the moment. But another point is that like green human resource management has not the biggest impact that you can see at the moment. So it's not really a visible impact. Like when you say we want to reduce our carbon emissions by 50% and we want to do it by stop putting waste anywhere, or reduce our waste, or we want to do that by having renewable energies on site of our facilities or anything, that's like measurable and that's visible. But green human resource management seems to be very very abstract, and for that it needs to, or there need to be strategies to implement that, because still, as said in the beginning, the employers are the ones who make the decisions and who are the ones deciding about company strategies and about company operation, and they can have a huge impact. So the human resource management is not really making the impact, but it's making the employees make an impact. And that's kind of an indirect way that seems to be very important. Still, green human resource management is definitely not the only thing that should be focused on in terms of getting green as a company. But it's still a way that's, I think, quite interesting, because especially it's not that hard to do it. Still, there need to be more research about certain topics, how to do it, and how to implement that in detail. But yeah, that's that from us. So if anyone has questions.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, so thank you for your presentation. And since you work on green human research management, what do you think it's the most essential things for green human management?
Sorry, I didn't understand the question. Can you repeat that?
Since you work on green human research management, what is the most essential things for green human research management?
Yeah, the most important would be to implement practices like training for the employees in what is like actually a green decision making. And so the training for once, and then secondly, the value setting of the company, so that everything in the company is set to be considering the impact on the environment. So those are probably the two most important things. And then as the third point, there would be green hiring, for example, and non-monetary awards to get the employees do what would be sustainable. But yeah, green training and core values of the company would be the most important ones. Does that answer your question, or did you want to hear anything else?
Okay, thank you so much.
Can somebody else help before I am the devil's advocate and attack?
Yeah, Pia?
Sure.
So I think the presentation is really good. I really like the abstract in the beginning and the introduction to how everyone get on the information level. I think the rush maybe a little bit through the literature that I like that you highlighted was the most important. You can also back read it again. Like that. I haven't seen a rush.
Yeah, maybe that's for for the end. So I wanted to. That's our references, and there's also an appendix explaining the survey information into in more detail. But that's everything. Everything that's there is something that we already gone through. So that's why I wanted to do that in the end. But yeah, if you're interested in anything, you can check that out in the end of our presentation. And the presentation is available on Facebook and on Google Drive. So everyone has access to that. And if you have any questions in the future, then you're welcome to come and ask them. So yeah. Yes, Professor.
Can't be too easy, right? So you're specialists in green HRM, and I recall your last statement from your conclusion is every company should promote green HRM or green management. However, with that said, as Pia said, thank you for your presentation. I believe it's very valuable. Everybody needs to learn more about it. And you have an abstract, and you have a good introduction and showing many of the literature that alone may attract many people to reference you, and it might make you guys famous because many people want to know who's writing, who are the experts in green, and you have a list. However, I haven't actually seen the details. You've said things, good. But your conclusion, for example, says everybody needs to go green. Well, if we break that down and say, well, there's rich countries going green, but then there's also poor countries just struggling to make a small amount of money. And if they have to change anything, maybe they're not going to go and be profitable. Then they'll might go out of business. And I haven't heard from your presentation, your abstract, your title was saying they are more profitable, but I haven't heard how exactly. How can somebody in India or Kenya or Nepal become more profitable going green? It may help you guys. The answer for you guys to say is read Jones 2021. He talks a lot about it. It's here in your third page, something like that.
We actually have something about that.
Good. Pia, we're recommending Pia. Okay.
It's this one. This one is the impact of environmental concern on purchase intention. So that is the essence of this research paper, and that's about how green companies and millennial generation, or how millennial generations' purchase intentions are influenced by the green image of companies. And that explains in detail why exactly a company should focus on getting a more sustainable image, because millennials are actually thinking about that when buying products, and that's an actual criterion for them to buy at your place. And millennials are getting more, and the generation of baby boomers and generation X, they are getting less. And so with every new generation, there are more buyers or potential buyers for them, for whom the greenness of your company is actually criterion to buy your product. And that's why you should focus on becoming or having a more green image, because otherwise people won't buy your product anymore. And as I said before, for struggling countries and smaller countries, still very hard to focus on that, because they have to just build up And that's the thing why this is a process. So this shouldn't be from one day to another, but for sure the northern or the big companies in the global north should focus on that more because they have the resources to do that. And that's something that's also like settled in the Paris climate agreement, that the richer countries and the richer companies actually have to help the smaller countries to develop in that phases, and that they have to give them resources and money to help them develop in that kind of direction. So yeah, the richer countries have to do the first step. That's definitely the thing.
That's an actually very interesting statement that you were just saying. What I heard you were talking about is the richest of the rich companies are usually in the rich countries. Maybe this Paris Accord can start not officially, but publicly encouraging big companies like Walmart to try to source supplies from Vietnam or China that is more plastic friendly or whatever you want to call it, green. So if those big companies, if they can show their mentoring, that would be great. You were using the words pay more, but I don't think the big companies want to pay to their competitors. However, if they did show that they're sourcing just green companies in China or Vietnam or Nepal, wherever it is, that could definitely help. Yes. I haven't heard too much about it, but that would be good. Overall, with your presentation, great. It's a very good generalization, trying to focus on usually PhD people are very strange. Usually for the best research, they focus on very, very specific detail. And in doing that, it's hard for anybody to argue with them. Since you guys are still covering a lot of detail, like your statements are, anybody should do this. You could say somebody in another country could easily argue with you. So try to focus as much as possible going forward. But for our class purposes, it's not research focused. It's good. Thank you. Anybody else? Who else is online? Hua, did you want to call out a couple of people to give an evaluation and some comments?
Maybe Thomas Lafoy or Zachary, who have been very quiet in class so far. Do you have any comment or question for the?
Your turn.
Well, actually, no, I don't really. No, not this time.
Okay, so you've just talked for half an hour and he has no idea what you said.
No, I mean, just, yeah, it was clear.
You need to evaluate him. Thomas, we're waiting for an evaluation and comments for improvement.
I don't have any, I'm sorry.
Okay, so you can't evaluate or give comments for improvement. Anybody else? Who was the other person that you were suggesting? What?
Zachary.
Zachary?
Are you here, Zach?
Yes, yes. Okay. For me, so it was a good presentation. I couldn't hear everything because of motorcycles in my street, but I really appreciate the fact that they did some break to ask us if we have a question, and that was a nice subject, green HRM. So I think I will give to them 18 and 20.
Okay.
I don't know if it's accurate, but
how might they be able to revise details to get perfection in the future?
As I said, I couldn't hear everything, so that's why I give to them this note. for me, that was a great presentation.
Okay, anybody else in the class have something that may help you guys get a grade or comments for evaluation?
I had a pretty similar question with the professor. I was also curious because the green human resource management can be very successful for the companies in developed country. But I was also curious if that going green will work to the developing country as well. But um, from his answer, I have realized that that also can be applicable uh, from his literature review. So I got the answers what I was curious. So I think they had a good literature reviews. So I would give them a 20 out of 20 because I got everything I was curious about it.
Okay, thank you very much. I guess that's it. Do you have any comments for the rest of the class going forward? And my first question to you, I didn't forget. Now that you've finished, both of you guys, what was your biggest challenge for you guys doing research on this topic? And then your second question is, what do you think the literature's biggest challenge is that you've seen so far?
Which method do you think more attractive or more beneficial? Because every human is different and styles or measures or guidelines of green HRM. That's why it's something confusing or challenging.
Okay. All right, thanks. I guess it's time for Celinda. Did you say that you wanted to present today as well?
Yes, we want to present.
All right. Please go ahead. I think you should be able to share your screen. Is that right? Box. Yes. Just the, yeah, yes. Yep. My questions for you are finished, but when you are great, you're starting to share anything with before you start, Celinda?
You can see my screen? No. Okay.
No.
Okay. Can you
Yes,
see?
yes, we can see.
Okay. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Right.
Okay, perfect. So wait. Okay. So hello everyone. So today we will present you a research on Samsung electronics in South Korea. First, we will introduce rapidly, then we will talk about the history of Samsung, about the Samsung workplace, some comparison between European country, then the survey we made, and finally the conclusion. And we will talk rapidly about all references. So Samsung, it's a South Korean electronics company, which has become one of the most recognizable name in technology. This brand is one of the world's largest producer of electronic devices, which sell television, household appliances, mobile devices, and produces about a fifth of South Korean total export. And depending on the country, the cultures are very different. and could influence the workplace. We want to understand how Samsung Electronics Korea can give an equal opportunity workplace. A goal is to bring the best way to organize a company, to have a good place to work where every worker can feel good and equal. It is important for us because it could help the company to have a better productivity and with a good value.
So now let me talk about the history. So Samsung is not a name chosen by chance. In Korean, the word Samsung means 3 stars, and the name carries of the founder Lee Byung-chul's vision for the company to shine like a star in the sky, bright and everlasting. Samsung first entered the electronics industry in 1969 with several electronics focus division. Their first product were black and white televisions, and during the 70s, the company began to export home electronic produce overseas. At that time, Samsung was already a major. In the 2000s, witnesses the birth of the Samsung Galaxy smartphone, which quickly not only became the company's most praised product, but also frequently topped annual list of the best-selling smartphone in the world. Since 2006, the company has been the top-selling global manufacturer of television, and beginning in 2010, the Galaxy series expanded to tablet, computer, with the introduction of the Galaxy Tab. Samsung nowadays continues its innovation in products, investing in future technology like 5G or 6G, AA, and robotics, changing its leadership in the tech industry.
So Samsung believes that innovation and growth are driven by an exclusive culture and a diverse workforce. They want to create a global team where everyone belongs and has an equal opportunities, inspiring talent to be their true selves. Samsung also has an innovation campus that trains students and employers to be experienced in case technology. They have like around 267,937 employees working across Samsung global network in different countries, around 74, and 230 global bases. The vision is together for tomorrow. Also, Samsung Electronics in Korea currently has foreign workers like around 2,000, and out of 200,000 employees in its local operation, up to 40% are non-Korean in its global operation. Of the applicant, the largest figure of 200 was from China, followed by those from United States and Canada with 100 people each. And we can also find some employees in Sudan, Uganda, Costa Rica, and Guatemala were also included among the applicants. So I let Zephyr talk about what is an equal opportunity workplace.
Before to give you the definition of what is an equal opportunity workplace, do someone know what is it and want to say it? Like someone in the class or online?
No, sorry.
No,
You have
nobody.
an idea of an equal opportunity workplace? For you, what is it, an equal opportunity workplace?
Pia in class was saying, yes, it's a workplace where everyone has the same opportunities.
Okay, yes, but so let me continue and let me give you the definition. So that's not false. An equal opportunity workplace. Equal opportunity means that every person can participate freely and equally in areas of public life, such as in the workplace, in education, or accessing goods and services. Discrimination is treating or proposing to treat someone unfavorably or bullying them because of a personal characteristic protected by law. Equal employment opportunity is advantageous for both individual and the organization for which they work. This is particularly important in diverse workplaces where demonstrating appropriate regard for the different lifestyle, values, and personal choice of one's colleague is a vital way to maintain a fair environment for all. Various studies have shown that diverse workplace increase staff retention and satisfaction, and even boost revenue. So I will talk now about the safest workplace. So environmental safety in Samsung is the first principle. They take action before accidents happen. That's why they manage safety by securing their facilities, increasing awareness, and implementing safety program for all of their employees and partners. They deliver material to raise awareness among staff, prevent accidents, and encourage company campaigns. They can also respond to emergency at any moment and promote safety culture and increase safety awareness through Health and Safety Week.
So, like I say, depending on the country, the culture are different and could influence the workplace. As we study in South Korea, we feel that the culture is so different from France, and so from European culture. In France, there's still some inequality in the workplace. The inequality could be between men and women or different origin, but it's get better, and I think better than Korea. Korea is known for its very rich culture and probably one of the most unique work culture in the world. It's like very different from Europe. It will be interesting to see how they manage according to different culture. So before beginning to talk about it, I would like to ask some question. One question: what kind of prejudice do you have about work culture in Korea? Maybe Tobias?
You say something specific, you may go to jail if you make somebody look bad. Go ahead, Pia. I think they're asking you. What do
No, Tobias and Pia, if they have an idea or some prejudice about the culture work in Korea.
Okay. Yes, you're first.
I can't hear, sorry.
The second, I will get closer to him.
Thank you.
I think that people here are actually going to work very early in the morning and then are leaving very late because it's like etiquette to come before your boss arrives and then to arrive after your boss leaves or something like that. Also, many people are arriving very early and going late, and they are not really working efficiently in their work time. That's something I heard, because they have to stay there so long that they are just sometimes sleeping in the office and stuff like that.
Yeah. And what about you, Pia?
Wouldn't mention names, but that's a good.
Yeah, I feel like work culture is a lot more stressful because you're not say what you think openly, but you only have a few, for example, drinking times, a few opportunities to really speak out. So I think it's a lot of stress for a lot of people.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, you're right. Like so Korean culture, it's sometimes a little bit difficult at work, and because they have a hierarchical structure in it also, why there may be some confusion sometimes over what your actual job position is. It's not always clear where you stand in the food chain, and the higher the better. So your opinion won't be carry as much weight in team meeting. It's hard to say no to those with seniority over you, and sometimes your senior may even be purposefully worse just because you're new. For example, if your boss suggests you to go eat after the work, you have to say yes. It's very rare to refuse. They want to keep the team environment with their coworker as close to family as possible. This particular part of Korean work culture is also highly dependent on the company and the team. The work culture is not the easiest one in the world. as we all know, there are some obstacles from also for women because the pay system continues to have pervasive influence in the labor market and negatively impacting female recruitment. Society is still dominating by stereotypes about gender roles, like men are the breadwinners and women are responsible for child rearing and housework. But in the early history of Korea in general, once woman married her spouse, she was expected to leave her parents' house permanently and then occupy the lowest position in her husband's family. The woman was often treated very badly and didn't get a lot of rights related to her marriage. So Korean women during this time hardly had any form of freedom for herself. Women in the Korean workplace are not taken as seriously as men, but the role began to change greatly with the introduction of Western culture and greater educational opportunities. Mm.
Oh, okay. Let me take the next with the work culture in France. So in France, law reduced the statutory of working week from 39 hours to 35 hours in 2000 for companies with more than 20 employees, and in 2002 for companies with 20 employees or fewer. Consequently, French employees have above average leisure time on average day. Working hours are generally Monday to Friday, sorry, from 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. to 12 and 12 and a half. Then they take back the work at 2 and a half to 6 p.m., something like this. However, as always, it depends where the organization is located. Approximately 15 hours per day are dedicated to personal care and leisure like eating, sleeping, sport, and other hobbies. The law also required another organization to forbid employees from sending or replying to email after certain hours. The objectives of the right to disconnect include ensuring that employees are reasonably paid for their work while protecting their private time. This allows employees to work-life balance and reduce the risk of overwork. There are also 11 national holidays in France, so most office, business, and shop in France will close for public holiday. France's health and social security system cover all employees. Payment by employers discharge all health, retirement, and unemployment insurance obligations. In principle, the French health cover and social security system applies to expatriates. Gender inequality continues around the world, like you know. Confronted with this, France is exchanging the coherence and effectiveness of gender action in its development assistance policies and external actions. The third international strategy for gender equality is a streeting tool designed to coordinate France's effort to improve the situation of women around the world. The strategy is the international embodiment of the president's commitment to making gender equality the great national cause of his term. Certain employers are now strictly liable to ensure equal pay between women and men. They are also subject to a gender pay gap evaluation system involving the evaluation of specific pay gap indicators, the publication of the score on these indicators, and the financial penalty in the event that they do not bring the score up to the minimum required level within 3 years. So in France, there is a good diversity of origin and diversity of people inside the companies. Indeed, France is a diversified country which accept a lot of origin inside the enterprise. The diversity and inclusion footprint is a fact in France, which requires the company to have a huge diversity of gender, disability, multi-generational, multicultural, and LGBT inside the group. So now I will talk about the work culture in Norway. So for decades, Norway has been a leading country in implementing institutional solutions to achieve equality between men and women. The result of these policies are reflected in several international index reports, among which Norway and Scandinavia top the list. The state's policy, tools for shaping equality, and the role of institutions in the process are based on the principle of democracy, fairness, and justice, but in difference from guidance, advice, and law. The law must be abided by Norway's 2003 quota law mandates that list companies boards of director have a gender balance, each account for 40% sparking a lot of support and supposition and opposition. So far has not been a reasonable answer to the question of why the labor market is so severe horizontally and vertically, and even radical equality policies have not succeeded in changing it. I may speak really fast. If you have some question on this part, you can ask me, or we can go to the next.
The gender gap. I will try to present fast for the reason of time. And as we can see, the gender pay gap in Korea is the highest among OECD countries at the 37.2%, contributing to making working life for women in Korea unattainable. Indeed, only 56.2% of Korean women are in paid employment, 20 points lower than the rate of Korean men. But it should also be noted that while South Korea's healthcare and education environment have improved, on the whole, gender disparities in the workplace remain large. About surveys. Survey can help us to understand how Samsung workplace works in Korea and to bring our knowledge in order to help them to organize better the company. Because encouraging and fostering a work environment that is fun and that inspires employees to take joy in their work can reap enormous benefits. We want to positively engage employees and to provide positive support and encouragement for growth projects. That's how happy employees are more likely to ask for support if it's needed. And we have to try to get an interview with different persons in the company, the directors or managers and men, women employers, and diverse origins to understand if the company give an equal opportunities workplace. There you may see our questions, and I want to tell about it, but the time is money, therefore I will miss it, and let's present next slide. Is for employees, and the survey questions and survey answers. We received some answers that claims the inequality inside the Samsung company in South Korea because Korean Confucian values are still present in society. There are still some discriminations between men and women. The directors and managers confirm that to point out employees good qualities and give them an equal opportunity in the workplace. We need to discussion about what went well, highlight areas for improvement, provide ideas for career growth, and others. Give them an objective rating at the end of the year on how much they improved in those highlight areas. You may see our answers from the screen.
Okay, so first, wait. what do you think about all the answers we have received? Do you want to criticize, to talk about it? For example, Jonggo-moon,
Yes.
what do you think about all the answers we have received about about the Korean culture?
So that's pretty interesting because they have said there's an inequality inside the Samsung company. There's a they believe that workers believe that there are still Korean Confucian values. But the what I was thinking during your presentation was, so your topic was how can Samsung Electronics can provide equal worker working places. But that topic started with the something that something says Samsung Electronics is not equal. So I was a little bit afraid that maybe Samsung Electronics, if they see this PowerPoint, maybe they were offended. So I was thinking maybe you guys have to provide a good evidence that they are not equals. And then I saw the um, comparison between the cultures, like in France and Norway and Korea. But I was thinking, um, the talking about the culture cannot prove that the Samsung Electronic has a unequal working place, because maybe from the Western cultures they might think this is not fair, but maybe from the Eastern culture, maybe they will think it is fair. So maybe like the answers and how you conducted the survey might have to prove that Samsung Electronic working place is unequal. So I think it is more important to see how you conducted your survey and like who conducted, and
I think
I
that
think
yes, thank
so-
you, Jung-ho. The idea of everyone, when you are studying something, we have lots of books, lots of papers, lots of articles to study. It's good to review the details, but if you are not focused on being a specific specialist in one area, you're going to be very generalized, and anyone that's very generalized can be torn apart by others, as we saw with the first group and this group. It's a great start here, but for example, your survey questions, were your survey questions conducted in Paris, or were they conducted in Seoul, or were they conducted in Daegu, which, even though Daegu and Seoul are both Korean, they both have very different cultures, Daegu being much more conservative and traditional than Seoul being much more future oriented, etc. So if you're surveying about workers, the management of workers in each area, especially different countries, would change. Make sure everybody is trying to focus on the specifics. I thought it was good. The idea that you have things, as Jung-ho was saying, don't get too specific about problems, try to get specific about solutions, benchmarking practices. That would be the best way to go forward. In East Asia, in Korea, if you do say one country or one company is bad, it can turn out really bad. You can get in a lot of trouble here. So yes, focus on the solutions. However, we have run out of time.
Can we just make the conclusion?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. A goal is to bring a solution, not to stay focused in the problems, and so we have to learn more about the problems to give some solution. And so I would like to sum up. We know that Samsung is a whole company which has become one of the most recognizable name in technology, and this company continue to innovate in products. Also, Samsung has their value and promote their safe environment, but depending on the country, the culture can enhance the inequality, like we talk about it, like the inequality between men and women. We focus on the country South Korea because it's a very rich culture and very interesting. We understand that the gender gap in Korea is the highest among OECD countries. We want to gradually change the mentality of the society where everybody is treated based on their expertise.
Yeah, we are inspired by European laws to create an equal opportunity workplace where every person can participate freely and equally in areas of public life, such as in the workplace, in education, or in accessing goods and services. In the future, all employees of Samsung can have equal access to the same resources. This can refer to an equal distribution of salary, resources, or opportunity between workers, regardless of gender or origins. We learned thanks to our research and survey how a director can make an effort to make employees feel better inside the company. We suggest more communication between employees and directors, managers, and push them to express themselves. As we know, Korean employees always agree, even if they are not. So we want those opinions to be shared, that can organize after work together without feeling pressured to come but adapt to their time. Salaries are also to be the same for men and women for the same position in job. So that's the end of our conclusion, but we don't have any more time, so we just have the references after, but if you want to leave, it's okay.
Thank you. I suggest everyone, please post your files in Facebook and start going through and make some suggestions to each other. Thank you very much, folks. Any last questions? I guess class is definitely finished. Anything else before I stop the recording?
No, I think it's fine.
Okay.